Alpha Day, everybody. Welcome to the Guam Chamber of Commerce General Membership Meeting and Senatorial Candidates Forum. It's Wednesday, October 21st, 10 a.m., and you're listening live on and broadcasting live on GoToWebinar. My name is Ernie Galito, and I welcome all Guam Chamber members and our invited guests, the senatorial candidates who are joining us in today's forum. The first order of business, however, is that we have another election pending the Guam Chamber membership, and that is for the 2021 Board of Directors. We have approximately 11 open seats on the Board of Directors panel, and so we have elicited some worthy nominations from our incumbent Board of Directors whose seats will expire on December 31st. And also, we have a nominations committee of which I am the chair, and our committee has searched our general membership and searched for candidates who are willing to serve during the next term of 2021. And so we'll proceed with the board order of business. And let me clarify, on the 8 seats that we have open for the Chamber of Commerce, 6 candidates who garner the highest number of total votes will serve a term of 3 years as a voting director. 2 candidates garnering the next highest total number of votes will serve a 1-year term as a non-voting director alternate. And let me introduce to you our slate of candidates. First is incumbent director Jessica Barrett, and she's the president of Barrett Enterprises, also known as Barrett Plumbing. Next is Will Flory. He's the CFO of Cabris Marine. Next candidate is Charlie Hermosa. He's the general manager of American President Lines. Next candidate is Siska Hatupea, and she's the president of Cornerstone Valuation, and she's also an incumbent director. Sandra McKeever, who is president and financial advisor of Asia Pacific Financial Management Group, also an incumbent. New to the election candidacy is AJ Polton, president of Pacific Star Resorts and Spa. The incumbent Mark J. Sablon, vice president, business development of South Pacific Petroleum Corporation. Phil Santos, account executive of Manson Navigation, is our 8th candidate. Dave Silva, general manager, Micronesian Assurance Brokers, Inc., also known as AB Risk Solution. And 10th candidate is incumbent director. His name is Mark Taquito. He's senior vice president of Bank of Hawaii. And we also have, rounding out the 11, is Kim Anderson Young. She's an incumbent director and president and founder of Guam CMI Security Title. Those are our slate of nomination of candidates that we have so far. Now, what I'd like to do is open up to the general membership if there are any nominations from the floor. And the members interested in this position need to be in good standing with the chamber and be a voting member.
Chamber members that are on the call right now, if you would please utilize the question feature to place your nomination at this time. Mr. Nominating Committee Chair.
Yes.
I believe there are
nominations?
No nominations.
All right, everybody had an opportunity. So if there are no further nominations, I declare the floor is now closed for this year's board nominations. Now, as a reminder, on October 23rd, the candidate information packet is due to their office by 12 noon. All the candidates who are on this call should know that. And then the chamber will send out a special election report It will send out to you via email on the 28th of October. November 5th, we'll conduct absentee voting at the Guam Chamber office. You can do that during normal business hours. Then on November 18th, we'll host meeting will take place from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Usually, other than this year, we've had that at a general membership meeting at a place that we usually congregate, but this year, everyone knows, has been quite different. So we'll send out notification on how that will be organized for voting for the board of directors. One final comment is that all members must be current with dues in order to vote in the upcoming election. So please make sure that you're current with the Guam Chamber. And individuals listed in the 2020 membership roster will be allowed to vote on behalf of their company. And for proxy voting, please contact the Chamber for further information. I mentioned earlier that we've got a nomination committee that put together the slate, and I'd like to thank them. First is Joe Arnett from Deloitte & Touche, Maureen Moratita from the Glimpses of Guam, Cindy Oklahoma from ASC Trust, Mika Caldwell from Archway Inc., and Trina Cruz from Pacific Islands Club. So I appreciate everyone's cooperation and search in order to host this election to be held on November 18th. So thank you very much. And now we will get into the forum format for our senatorial candidates. Again, thank you very much for all the candidates who are joining us today. The format for everybody's information, hopefully this will take place within the span of 90 minutes. Each candidate, when called upon, will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves, followed by a question, and we will advise you about the question. And so we've sent all the candidates a list of questions, probable questions, and by random selection, they'll be given the opportunity to answer the questions which I will pose before them. Candidates will be given 1 minute to respond to one question which will be drawn. And then just for everybody's sake and convenience, we'll have a timekeeper, which will apprise you of when your time will be allotted, will be assigned and expire. And then we invite the media to record this event in order to properly give attribution to each candidate's response to the questions for which I will pose. So is everyone ready? Candidates, members?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, may I please interject really quickly? And I apologize for this, but I would like to have all of our candidates to please look at your control panel and pull up your chat feature. This will give you prompts to let you know your time, okay? So if you could please pull up your chat feature, it's at the bottom of your control panel, and that will give you your time. And you are welcome to mute your microphones and your webcam until your number is called. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your participation today.
Okay, so we shall begin. So the first candidate I'd like to call upon to introduce himself. He has 2 minutes. Please welcome Joe San Augustine. Joe, I think your microphone might be on mute.
Or no? Am I still on? Am I still muted?
We can hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, thank you. Anyway, you need a correction there. You got my first name is Sam Augustine, but it's San. It says San. But anyway, Brennan's and half a day. I am Joe Simpson San Augustine of Jigu. I am running for the office in the 36th Guam Legislature. I'm married to Joanne Babata Chargo from Santa Rita, and together we have 3 children, 10 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. I graduated from John F. Kennedy High School in 1975 and earned my bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the University of Guam in 1990. I've been in public service for almost all my life. I was a former I am a former Guam police officer, a former acting compliance supervisor, and assistant criminal tax measure at the Department of Revenue and Taxation, and a former chairman and member of the Guam Education Board. I have served our country and island in the United States Army Reserve, the Guam Army National Guard, and a retired active duty. I also served our island and our people in the 34th Guam Legislature as a senator and chairman of the Committee on Education, which is inclusive of the University of Guam, GCC, charter schools, and DOE, and Finance and Taxation, which is Department of Revenue and Taxation, and members of other various committees. Now continuing my work as the senator of the 35th Guam Legislature and chairman of the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing. As a father and senator, law enforcer, and retired military, I've learned to listen to others, make decisions in consultation with those affected, and remain committed to work that is placed before me regardless of the obstacles. With these traits, I am able to work towards ensuring good, honest governance is present within our community and that we are able to provide quality public service for the people of Guam. Again, I am Joe S. Sanoxi, number 1 on the Democrat ballot. I humbly ask for your support and vote this election. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator St. Augustine, for your introduction. Now, here's the question that we posed that we were all interested in hearing about. It has to do with quality care because it's not only vital for a healthy economy, but also important for the island residents. Your question, if elected, what are your plans and priorities to improve the management and services of Guam Memorial Hospital? And to kind of narrow it down, we ask, would it include private-public partnerships or privatizations as options? Sir, your response.
All right, we jump right into the question, right after my introduction. All right. We must aggressively work towards building a new Guam Memorial Hospital. That's one thing I would like to focus on. A new facility will enhance the medical care that our people need and increase the level of pride healthcare workers have in serving our people. It is imperative that we carefully look at the care that our people need and determine what level of a new facility is to be built, which will lead to offering the most appropriate and required care for our residents. It is important for our island to have a proper and safe healthcare facility, such as Guam Memorial Hospital, and to provide health services to the public, which will help create a healthy economy. I hope that answers that.
Thank you, Senator. Next, senatorial candidate we'd like to call upon to introduce himself for 2 minutes, and after that, I will pose a question. So the next candidate will be Joseph J.I. Cruz. Chief Cruz, are you on the call? Catherine, do we have confirmation that Senator Cruz is joining us?
He did confirm, but I don't see him on the call. Why don't we go ahead and go to the next one?
Sure. All right, the next one will...
Mr. Ernie, this is Christine. I do see Joseph Cruz on the call. He is muted. Chief, if you can unmute your mic, we want to give you the opportunity. And if not, then yes, please, Ernie, go on and then we can circle back to him.
Okay. Give him a few seconds. Chief, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me, Ernie?
I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm not sure why my video is not showing, but nonetheless, if you can hear me, first off, I'd like to thank the Guam Chamber of Commerce for allowing me to participate in this legislative forum. My name is Joseph Iglesias Cruz. Most people know me as J.I. Cruz, and I am a senatorial candidate seeking a seat in the 36th Guam Legislature. And as I look to vie for a seat in the 36th Guam Legislature, what I bring to the table is 35 years of service to the people of Guam, starting with my career in the United States Marine Corps, not long after high school, transitioning coming back to Guam and serving in the Guam Police Department, during which time I went and sought my higher education, where I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a master's degree in public administration. After 10 years of service in the Guam Police Department, I then went back on active duty service as a active guard and reservist with the Guam Army National Guard. And after 22 years of combined service in the United States Marine Corps and the Guam Army National Guard, I retired and then went back to serving the people of Guam as your chief of police for the Guam Police Department from 2015 to 2019. I'm now serving as I'm a teacher, a high school teacher at Notre Dame High School, and I'm looking to serve the people of Guam. I'm looking to take my service and my education to that next level by effectuating what I like to call positive social change for the people of Guam. Now, I understand that there are many things to be addressed as a senator, but there are 5 things that I look to effectuate as I look to serve the people of Guam. First and foremost is economic growth and recovery. And then those 3 things which I consider to be the pillars of government, public safety, public health, and public education. And then last but definitely not least is the veterans here in Guam. Having served as a veteran, I'm looking to be able to effectuate positive social change in that regard. So as a candidate, I humbly ask for the support and vote from the people of Guam. My name is Joseph Iglesias Cruz. I'm number 8 on the Republican ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph Cruz. We appreciate it. Your introduction there. Now we would like to ask a question, and we look forward to the answer to this. In regards to legislature, so our question that we pose is, would you support a part-time or citizens legislature? And please elaborate on your position. And if you do support some modification of how the legislative branch should operate, what are your recommendations? Sir, your answer, please.
Thank you, Ernie. That's a very good question. And I will tell you, I am an advocate of a part-time legislature. I am an advocate of smaller government. As a Republican senatorial candidate, I've always believed that government should be smaller. There should be less intrusion and less control of our government on the people. So I would definitely support those initiatives and those policies that look towards a citizen government, to a part-time government. And should we decide as a legislative body that we are going to remain where we're at with the full-time legislature with 15 members in our body, then definite accountability of time and space being occupied by that legislative branch. I think that there's definitely more that can be done by that legislative branch to be able to provide more of those services to the people of Guam. So, while I am amenable to a part-time or a citizen legislature, if we are going to remain the same, then we need to do more. We need to come to the table more. We need to come to session floor more so that we can truly represent the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know sometimes the answers can be quite engrossing, but we appreciate everybody can keep their responses to 1 minute. So next we have candidate Fred Berdalio Jr. We asked for him to give his 2-minute introduction. You still might be on mute.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Guam Chamber of Commerce, for inviting me. I'm Fred Berdalio Jr. I'm from the village of Santa Rita, and I'm married to Dolores Lily St. Nicholas Cruz Berdalio. I'm a father of 4 beautiful children. They're all grown up, and I'm a grandfather of 8 grandchildren. One's on the way. And I'm the retired chief of police for the Guam Police Department, and I'm the former director of Guam Veterans Affairs. And I believe that the next 2 years, that the 36th Guam Legislature they're going to be facing the economic conditions that we currently observe right now and see with the devastation of the tourism industry and the challenges of the retail industry too. And but we still have some hope for the future, and I'm optimistic, and that's why I believe that I have the courage and compassion to make those tough decisions, balancing it with compassion, so we can respond to these economic conditions, restore economic dignity, advance economic prosperity, and take advantage and leverage. I'm going to leverage some of my contacts that I have working in the military, and also working with federal officials in Homeland Security, and also working in private business, because I've worked in the private sector also. So this is my commitment, and I'm ready to answer some of the questions for the Guam Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Bordalio. So our question that we want to pose to you regards the online sales tax. So the Guam Chamber of Commerce has been a strong proponent of Buy Local campaign, and therefore supports a sales tax on online purchases. What is your position on this issue? And can you give us, can you please elaborate?
Okay, thank you for that, a question. And it's interesting because, you know, my wife is a, you know, retired teacher, computer technology. She taught also at the Guam Community College. And a lot of the adults that attend the community college to take my wife's courses there, or even when she was in high school, even the kids, the children there, they're becoming our next entrepreneurs. And they want to get into a business where they can reach out to the Asian Pacific markets and then bring some revenue to Guam. And I just believe that when you're involved in as an entrepreneur in a business, it starts small. And I believe that we should give a break to these individuals who are even on using that digital technology to do business. A tax break, making sure that we don't, when you even bring up the word of taxing, and although they're making revenues, I think sooner or later it has a multiplier effect. That's how economics works, the macroeconomic effect of that. And I just believe I'm not ready to impose a tax, a sales tax on individuals who are currently right now involved in that business of e-commerce. I'm not ready to say let's tax them. There are other.
Your 1 minute is up. I'm sorry to cut you off. Next, we want to hear from next candidate. It's Senator Amanda Shelton. Senator Shelton, can you please introduce yourself to the panel and to our chamber members?
Oh, there you go. Okay, half a day, everyone. I apologize that it won't allow me to turn my camera on, but I'm glad to be here with all of you today. And half a day, my name is Amanda Shelton. I'm number 6 on the Democrat side of the ballot. It's been an honor to serve you as your senator over the past 22 months, and I continue to answer the call to serve and help our people by providing for our families, protecting our manumku, preparing our youth, preserving our environment, promoting health and safety for our entire community, and now leading our island on the road to economic recovery. I've worked hard each day over the last term to represent you and build a better future for Guam. Every policy I decided to pursue or support and decision I've made is guided by my values of service and respect and the principles of faith, integrity, and honesty. And knowing that these choices affect real people like you and your families. My passion to serve is stronger than ever before because I see the struggles our island is facing, and there's a long road ahead of us. And finding solutions for these struggles is my inspiration to continue working. Today, we're faced with the question of how we will rebuild our economy and lift Guam's place in the world. I'm committed to continue working every day to diversify our economy, invest in industries we know are good for Guam to create sustainable jobs, and make us all more resilient in the face of crisis. There are real challenges ahead of us and they won't be easy to solve, but I know we can do it together. And I humbly ask for one of your votes this election. My name is Amanda Shelton, number 6, Democrat.
Thank you very much, Senator Shelton. Now, the question we want to pose to you this morning has to do with procurement, government procurement in particular. So one of the hindrances with government contracting is and has been procurement. And vendors on island often complain about the poor packaging of RFPs, the onerous requirements, the lengthy process, and questionable decisions. This has led to some frustrations, which also leads to protest, which also would only delay further the government's ability to source needed supplies and materials to carry out mandated projects. And this has resulted in many reputable businesses refraining from wanting to submit a proposal. They get so frustrated. What would you do in capacity as the senator for next term to address the procurement process to make it efficient, balanced, and more attractive? Senator, your response, please.
Thank you very much for that question. I realize that the procurement process for the government is quite cumbersome, but we have these processes in place to ensure transparency in the process for government spending. However, I know that we need resources to be pushed into our government agencies who handle procurement so that they're able to efficiently process these procurement requests, and that's one of the biggest holdups that we're experiencing. So, as a senator, I commit to providing resources necessary to these agencies to ensure we have a more efficient process.
Thank you very much, Senator. I think your response was briefer than my question, but we appreciate your position.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to call on incumbent Senator Sabina Perez. Sabina Perez, I'm sorry. Would you please introduce yourself to the panel and our membership? I think you might be on mute.
There, thank you. Thank you for helping me out. Buenas and half a day. Thank you to the Guam Chamber of Commerce for allowing me to introduce myself to share my goals for the 36th Guam Legislature. I'm glad to be amongst leaders and potential leaders of Guam with the support and guidance from the Guam Chamber of Commerce and your families. I hope to be reelected once again this November. You know that I work hard and that I listen. And with my science and health background, as well as my belief in sustainable and thriving economies, you know that electing good leadership for government is one of the most important acts of participation for our people and our land. As a freshman senator, I was true to my word by setting out to accomplish my platform of sustainability by providing solutions for the long term that protects our environment, ensures the health of our people, safeguards public funds by increasing transparency and accountability through procurement reform, and consistently advocating for fiscal responsibility throughout our government in order to ensure our fiscal house is in order. And through my work, I have demonstrated that environmental solutions promote economic ones, such as my Zero Waste Bill, GTEC, Safe Drinking Water Act, amongst others. Just as I am committed to accomplishing my platform, so too I will be committed to doing this during the pandemic. I'm committed to restoring the health of our community, rebuilding our economy through a multi-pronged approach, from retrofitting government agencies that are an important part of economic recovery to ensure the safety for all, diversify our economy through COVID-resistant industries such as healthcare, IT, agriculture, renewable energy, telecommunications, and developing a local workforce to support the growth in these industries. Using my diverse experiences as a freshman senator, a medical technologist, diabetes researcher, teacher, community organizer for over 15 years, I remain committed to serving in a government that protects our people and resources for the long term. I humbly ask for your vote of support. Your vote for me is a positive vote for Guam. I'm Sabina Perez, number 14 on the Democratic ticket. Seduas Masi.
Thank you very much, Senator Perez. And just to give you, the question we want to pose has to do with juvenile wages. And so nationally, some states have established juvenile wages and these wages remain constant, even as minimum wages are increased by local governments and jurisdictions. However, would you support such a measure if introduced in the Guam Legislature? Please elaborate your answer.
So I'm a firm believer that what you get paid is based on merit. And so if someone is basically obtaining a position, is starting out, I think that it should, the amount of pay that one gets should reflect your experience and your effort. And so in regards to juvenile wages, I think that if, we should not limit our the pay based on youth or age. And should this person have, the expertise and knowledge to accomplish the job at a high level, I think they should be paid appropriately. I mean, if we look at the Silicon Valley, we see a lot of the billionaires are at in their 20s. And, I think that just judging somebody by their age, it, kind of limits their ability to, provide any just compensation. So it really should be based on merit, should be based on your expertise and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Perez, for that frank answer. Next, on our senatorial candidates, we have Michelle Armenta. Ms. Armenta, would you please introduce yourself?
There you are. Hello, good morning.
Good
Can
morning.
you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Michelle Armenta, and I am #1 on the Republican side of the ballot. I have an administrative background in human resources working for the federal government. I'm a homeschool mom on PUA, and I'm also a concerned citizen who believes that priorities, frugality, and transparency are the core elements of a successful government. I was also the president of a nonprofit organization called the Vigilance Committee, whose primary focus is to detect violations of the Open Government Law and the Sunshine Reform Act. And aside from detecting violations, we also gave legislative recommendations to remedy the situations. Now, unfortunately, a lot of our suggestions were never taken up by the legislature, so I decided to support and promote transparency on a different level and join the legislature. And my name is Michelle Armenta once again, and I am #1 on the Republican side of the ballot.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Now, this next question we wanted to ask has to do with creating a business-friendly environment for Guam. So my question we'd like to ask is, what policies, if elected, would you introduce to create a business-friendly environment for our island?
Well, the first thing that I would want to introduce for business friendly is to, one, open up the island to actually allow businesses to operate. Without that, it really isn't going to be very friendly. But other than that, let's see, I would also form partnerships with businesses and with GCC and training programs to meet companies' specific needs. I would also streamline procedures for obtaining business licenses so that it's a lot easier, quicker, friendlier. I would also properly fund the police and fire department for quick and proper responses, not just to communities, but to businesses as well. I would also hold people accountable for funding allocated to fix roads. I would also want to have road construction at night so as not to interfere with traffic during business hours. And I would also like to lower the cost of power by deregulating GPA.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Those are some of the interesting ideas. Next, I'd like to introduce number 7 on my list. His name is Frank Leon Guerrero. So Frank, please introduce yourself to the panel and our membership.
There you go. Hi. Hi, morning,
Good morning.
Ernie. And
Good morning.
how are you doing?
Good,
Buenas
good.
and Afide. Okay. Okay, I'll start on. Buenas and Afide to the people of Guam, and thank you to the Guam Chamber of Commerce. I am Frank Leon Guerrero, the number 4 on the Democratic side of the senatorial ballot. I was born, raised, and educated on Guam, and I plan to remain here on my island with my family. I am from the northern village of Deredo. I have been a public servant for nearly 50 years in the private sectors with the local and federal governments. And my career in law enforcement has encompassed nearly 38 years of distinguished service. I have been the head of the U.S. Marshal Service for Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands. I have been the Chief Marshal for the Judiciary of Guam, and I have been a ranking officer with the Guam Police Department. I was able to get a full retirement from all of these 3 areas. I am also a graduate of the prestigious FBI National Academy. The effects of this pandemic will be with us for many years, and now may be the most critical point because of many deaths and illnesses. Many residents and government workers, we are not prepared for this. I have obtained highly specialized training and skills in my career, and I've stepped out to offer my services to the people of Guam. If there's anything that I can help with, I'll be there. I have absolutely no personal agendas. Should I be elected by the people of Guam, I have no business nor personal gains by running in this race. I take pride in working for the people of Guam, in our region, and worldwide networking. I am trusted by the people. I am trusted by many government officials. I was trusted by a former president of the United States. My fellow people of Guam, please trust me. Once again, I am Frank Leon Guerrero, number 4 on the Democratic side of the ballot. And I want to thank you all, Sizus Maasi and Maraming Salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I know you've got a background in public service, but my question is going to be around how to recover and grow our economy. True prosperity only occurs by growing the economy, which in present crisis, this issue is more critical than ever before. If elected as a senator to the 36th Guam Legislature, what actions will you propose to recover and grow our economy? Frank, your answer?
Yes, thank you, Ernie, for that question. Again, I'm going to be using my first responder experience in stabilizing the economy and the people of Guam. So that's the first thing we have to do, to stabilize everyone. We can come up with all of these ideas and great ideas for getting people back in. But right now we are dying, we're sick, and we need to get public services like the police officers out and just protect the people. We need to support the hospitals and all of the education. Take care of the people first, and we can talk about exploring the other adventures or ideas of the future. This would be a great opportunity now to actually just ask, I guess, as if we could even, is bring our heads together, work with the governments, and this is the moment that we can share information, because this is the time that we actually have more time to work together and bring the ideas and work towards the future and start planning them. This is a great opportunity. One of the things that I'd really like to do is
Thank you, Frank. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You have 60 seconds. So now we have to go on to the next candidate, and I'd like to introduce our incumbent Senator James Moylan. Senator Moylan, can you introduce yourself to our panel and our membership this morning?
Sir, can we hear me okay? It says I'm muted now. Am I coming across all right?
Ernie?
Yes, we can hear you. Good.
All right, thank you. I'm an incumbent senator, and I hit since day one in the 35th Guam Legislature. I hit the floor running, and I've introduced several bills. But the first bill I introduced was Bill number 9, and that's to reduce our BBT from 5% to 4%. And I was fortunate enough to have a public hearing on that, and it was well attended. But that's as far as it got on that one. And so I attempted again to reduce our BBT with a referendum. And if that would have went further, we would have seen that on the ballot and allowed the people to vote to reduce our business privilege tax. That didn't happen either. Then there was even an attempt. Let's look at it, reducing it temporarily with Bill 311, just for 6 months. I couldn't get a reaction from that either. But you know, I'm fighting for the business. I'm fighting to reduce our tax, and we have some, I think, ridiculous fees on now, especially with the LLC licensing at $1,000. Why? I don't know. But I would like to come back in the 36th Guam Legislature, continue the fight for the small, reducing the cost of goods. Now I'm ready to fight, and I'm ready to move forward and open our businesses and reduce our taxes. And that's why I'm running as a Republican senator in the 36th Guam Legislature. Again, I'm Jim Wellen, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We appreciate your response. And now, since you were focused this term on taxes, we have a question regarding tax for you this morning. So the Guam Chamber of Commerce has been a strong proponent of converting the invisible privilege business tax, or the BBT, to a visible sales tax. What is your position on this issue, and how would you gather enough collegial support in order to make this into a bona fide law? Tell me your strategy, please.
Well, since you have the current senators and just about everybody that wants to be in the 36th Guam Legislature, I think you made that loud and clear. We do need the support for that. And I'll be happy to introduce a measure to remove that invisible tax and replace it with a visible tax so that people can really see what they're paying for. But it's going to need to be on a process. We have to reduce one before creating the other one. Like, for example, 1 point of the BBT, and then drop that down, and then 1 point to the same.
Okay, Senator Moylan, on behalf of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, we apologize for that brief blackout. In no way was it in response to your question, to the question that we posed. So we apologize for that, but in sake of fairness, I'll restart it. So I'll ask the question again. The Guam Chamber of Commerce has been a strong proponent of converting the invisible business privilege tax to a visible sales tax. What is your position on this? And please elaborate.
Thank you, Ernie. I'm all for that, and probably if we already started that, maybe we wouldn't have this glitch, and we would have lower BBT, and our systems will be working better. But in reality, it will be really helpful. This is important. We can reduce the BBT by 1 point and create the sales tax by 1 point. And we can, let's say the sales tax is at 2%. The BBT can drop from 5 to 3%. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. The BBT actually should only be 4%, and it should be dropped to 2% when we increase or create the sales tax at 2%. So the sales tax has a great potential to create even higher general revenue funds. So I'm in favor of that. I will prioritize that, and I'd like to have some serious discussion with the stakeholders by doing a financial analysis on this. I'm here for reducing tax, the invisible tax, certainly, and it does impact the cost of goods, and I think it will create more competition as well. So I'll be anxious to introduce that type of measure if fortunate to get into the 36th Guam Legislature. Thank you, Ernie.
All right, thank you, Senator Moylan. Next, I hope he's on board, but our next candidate is incumbent. It's Senator Jose Pito Terlahi. Senator Terlahi, are you on the call? If so, can you
Ernie,
please introduce yourself?
Ernie,
yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Can I start?
Go ahead, Senator.
Before I share my thoughts, Ernie, I just want to thank the Guam Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to be a part, for me to be a part on this morning discussion. My name is Jose Tobis Terlay, also known as Pido, and as a graduate of the University of Guam and majoring in public administration, police science, which I would think is in tune with the topics of discussion this morning, and being a public servant for more than half of my life, I share my goals relative to the circumstances and issues vital to bringing some sense of assurance that as a senator and representing the people, I am committed to work hard and concentrate on the programs project relative to the creation of jobs and public safety, education, and health. And my reason for running, after a decade of being being in public service as a senator, police officer, civil defense director, mayor, and now a senator, I want to continue serving our people in the best that I could. And I want to thank you all. I want to thank the panel for being a part of this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Talahi. The question we wanted to ask you this morning has to do with right-sizing or reducing the size of government of Guam. And so, if elected, what legislation would you introduce to right-size or optimize, putting the right people in the right positions, and reduce the cost of operating the government? Would this be a priority of yours if elected? Please give us your position.
You know, Ernie, I don't know about reducing the numbers of employees that we have in our government. I think the question is, am I going to reduce, or because the government is there's just too much that the government of Guam is doing, and we need those employees. And I cannot trustfully say that we need to reduce the numbers of employees, because they need to work to support the family. It's not a question of reducing the numbers of employees. It's the question of reducing the expense of this government. And that's all that I can share with you. But I'm not in support of reducing the numbers of employees, but maybe reducing the cost of this government.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for your answer. I wanted to find out if we have senatorial candidate Don Equilani. Is he on the call? We didn't find him earlier. So what I think we'll do, we'll go on to the next candidate. And if Ed happens to come up on a call, we'll go to him next, right after this. So next, what I'd like to be able to do is introduce our next candidate. He's Joaquin Ken Leon Guerrero. And Ken, can you please introduce yourself and tell us more about your position here as a candidate?
My name is Ken Leon Guerrero, Joaquin Leon Guerrero, but I'm known as Ken Leon Guerrero. And for the past 12 years, I've been a community advocate, fighting against established political machines and their pork barrel projects, which have harvested millions of dollars from taxpayers, diverting it from public funds into private hands. And the reason I'm running for the 35th Guam Legislature is that tradition continues very prominently in the 35th Guam Legislature with the passage of the very first bill, Bill 30, and I am now in the Supreme Court of Guam in my challenge to that bill. So I have been fighting for the people of Guam as a community advocate in the courtrooms and on public hearing rooms. I've decided to run for the legislature and take my representation of the people from the courtroom and the public hearing rooms to the floor of the Guam Legislature, because there on the floor of the Guam Legislature, I will have a stronger ability to affect policy and to highlight the abuses of the taxpayers and voters that are taking place on a daily basis in that building. I started Guam Citizens for Public Accountability, and I've documented the work I've done for the past 5 years through hundreds of op-eds and videos and posts on the subject of government corruption. And what better place to fight it than at the source?
Thank you very much, Ken, for that introduction and position stance. So the question we pose to you is about minimum wage. In 2019, there was a measure enacted to raise the minimum wage. The first increase went into effect in April 2020, which was at the start of the pandemic. The second increase, according to law, will take place in April of 2021. Considering the present economic crisis and the reality that many businesses are closing down, which results in thousands of residents losing their jobs, what is your position on amending the law on the implementation of the second increase? And what would you propose should you be elected?
That's really a 20-minute question instead of a 1-minute question, but I was a proponent for the minimum wage. I thought the 35th legislature didn't do enough, because when you consider the fact that the cost of living has gone up over 30% over the past 5 years and wages were stagnant. But we're in a different situation right now. We are in the midst of an economic meltdown. Our economy is circling the drain. The legislature needs to provide whatever support they can for small businesses as well as large businesses. So I would be in favor of postponing the increase in the minimum wage. And bear in mind, I'm saying that as someone who thought the legislature didn't do enough. But we have to take care of our small businesses, because it doesn't do any good to raise the minimum wage if the businesses can't afford to hire anybody to accept those wages.
Thank you very much, Ken. We know that some of these questions deserve more discussion and discourse as opposed to the second allotted. So we appreciate your synthesizing your answer into the 60 seconds. And that's for all the candidates. But we know that once you start this discourse, it's going to open up for more conversation. And that's what we want to do, is to raise the level of conversation for all these issues. So we appreciate everybody's curt response. Next, we'd like to call on a former Senator, Frank Blas Jr. Please introduce yourself, Frank, and give us your position. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, first off, Hafide, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the members of the Guam Chamber of Commerce. There are many issues that needs to be addressed, like our economy, the crime rate, our healthcare, education, and our political status. And while there are continuous efforts to attend to these concerns, the people's trust and confidence and belief in our leaders to deal with these issues have been waning, and I don't blame them. In order for our island to progress, we need to restore the idea of working together in our community, and it has to start with the ones elected by our people to lead. We once prided ourselves in working together, being resilient, and to willingly share in the sacrifice to help get through a calamity in our community. Now fear has replaced hope, and anger has replaced trust. Our community can't thrive if there's no trust in the intention and work of our government, if there's no confidence in our leaders, and if there's no belief that in working together, things will get better. While our leaders work on resolving our community concerns, they also need to work on fixing the relationship with the people they serve. Not only do we want leaders who are accessible and transparent, we also need them to be attentive to what our community needs and to listen. Furthermore, as our government needs to focus less on taxing and restraining activity and concentrate more on things that can help our community get past this pandemic and then recover and grow. I have a plan. It's called the Guam RX5, Guam's prescription for economic recovery. And if elected, we'll hit the ground running with it. I'm running because I believe in our people and the possibilities that exist for our island. I'm running because I believe that with restoring the trust and confidence and belief in ourselves, we can do a lot better and we can build a better Guam. I'm Frank Blas Jr. and I believe in you, and I'm asking you to believe in me. I'm number 4 on the Republican side of the ballot, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Frank. That was a good opening statement, and we appreciate your position quite off the bat. So the question that we posed for you this morning is regarding attracting new industries to Guam. So while we have seen an increase in off-island business entities and franchises making their way into the territory, they obviously see opportunity. In the meantime, we are also seeing an array of empty commercial units and businesses close its doors, many of them local. If elected senator, would you introduce legislation which would attract new entities and industries to Guam? And if so, please elaborate.
Well, like as I mentioned in my opening statement, I have an economic recovery plan, RX5, Guam's prescription for economic recovery. And part of that is looking at how we can attract new businesses, how we can create a third leg to our economy, as opposed to just the tourism and our federal relationships. This gives us a perfect opportunity because of what we're being faced with, to be able to open up and look at all these ideas. So that's a major component to the recovery plan that I propose, and a major recovery plan that I intend to work with if elected in the 36th Guam Legislature. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Frank, for that answer. Next, we'd like to introduce the following candidate. His name is Dave Duenas. Dave, I see you're on the call, so please introduce yourself and tell us your opening statement.
Now you can hear me, right?
We can hear you, David.
Hello? Okay, Hapade, buenas. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Duenas, number 7 on the Democratic ballot, and thank you for inviting me to this Chamber of Commerce forum. I'm a veteran of the Air Force, worked in the private sector, worked in the government of Guam, and I'm very involved in the community. I decided to run for office this time around. It's not my first rodeo, as they say. The first time I ran was in 2000, so 20 years ago. And I felt it is definitely time to get back into the race, seeing what I've seen during the last, going on 2 years, over a year and a half. I don't believe that the current slate of senators, not all of them now, there's 15 of them, but a big majority of them were not focusing on the constituents, the voters, put them into office. They were not being addressed properly. So I decided to come in there, and I bring to the table, again, the ability to work outside the box. I don't believe in status quo. Status quo, if it doesn't work, get rid of it. Come up with a different idea. And once again, there's a lot of issues affecting Guam. We're in unprecedented times with this pandemic. And first and foremost, before anything happens on Guam in regards to the economy, that seems to be the biggest question. How do you plan to recover Guam's economy? You can't do that until we get a handle on the COVID-19 and the pandemic. So once again, I thank you, the Chamber of Commerce, for allowing me to participate, and thank you.
Thank you, David, for your answer and your introduction. My question to you follows pretty much what your opening statement talks about. So notwithstanding all the challenges of COVID-19 and how we address health issues, consider the importance of small business towards our economic base. So as a senator, what would your plans be to help incentivize or grow small business activity on the island? Your ideas?
Sure. First and foremost, like some other candidates, new ones included, I am very, very committed to, when I am elected into office, to reducing the BPT immediately. Immediately. The businesses right now are being closed down, some of them forever. Some of them are barely hanging on. They're struggling to stay open. And we just don't need the BPT to be at 5% at this time. I'm not saying to lower it down forever, but until we recover our economy, then we should do that. And the reason being, again, Ernie, is, we reduce the BPT, businesses can stay open, they can re-employ their employees that let go. That would generate income taxes, withholdings. So it would, again, the government would have to, will collect revenue. And at the very least, the BPT, of course, most of it goes to the government of Guam. The government of Guam just needs to learn to live within their means, period. It doesn't mean people are going to get laid off. It just means they need to put a hiring freeze and let attrition take effect. When people retire, don't fill those positions. Thank you.
David, I hate to interrupt you, but we've exceeded your 60 seconds. Appreciate your response on that question.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce next senatorial candidate. His name is Vince Borja. Vince, can you introduce yourself and tell us your position in your opening statement?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Vince.
Good morning. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum and your members for allowing me the opportunity to share my ideas on some of the issues that are important to me and those who call Guam home. My name is Vince Borja. I'm a Republican candidate for Senator in the 36th Guam Legislature. I'm an Army veteran, a former business professor, a business owner, and most importantly, a son of Guam that cares about the direction our island is headed. Today, I'm here not just as a candidate, but like many of you, a small business owner who has been impacted by the virus. Like most of you, I believe our government can do more for our community. They can do more to help businesses survive, and I believe they can do more to diversify and grow our economy. Most of the issues in our community are not new, but I know we can do more, and I want to help do more. But we need businesses to do well so that we have the economy and the resources to do more. We must modernize the government to streamline how we start and sustain business growth. We must also make the one-stop center a true one-stop center, not just one on specific days and during certain hours. We must remove the bureaucratic red tape that will entice and allow new industries to help with economic diversification and growth. To the businesses and our members, please know that I hear you and I want to fight for you. My name is Vince Borja. I'm number 13 on the Republican side, and I'm asking for your support to help make Guam a better place to work and live. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince, for that opening statement. And you mentioned several times about business as a key to the economy. So my question I pose to you today regards the business privilege tax, which was increased by 1% in 2018. And while the law originally indicated a sunset provision, meaning that it was going to end, of the increase until September 30th, 2018, the 34th Guam Legislature passed legislation to extend this increase indefinitely. If elected, would you support reducing the BBT back to 4%, keeping it status quo, or increasing it further? Please provide a reason for supporting one of these three options.
Thanks for that question, Ernie. Just like the speakers before me, a lot of them have talked about how do we can help our economy recover, and definitely you look at the businesses closing. I think putting the BPT back at 3% will at least give these businesses a fighting chance. So I definitely will support legislation to repeal the raising the business privilege tax. It's that, I mean, I think that's right now that's the fighting chance that we can do to help these businesses thrive and to recover. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. Next, what I'd like to do is circle back to one of the candidates who was not online when we first came to his time in the roll call. So now I'd like to introduce Don Equilani. Don, welcome. And please, you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and give us your opening position statement.
Sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Welcome.
Okay, good. Hi. So I didn't hear the last part, and I'm not sure if you say you see me, but I don't see my video. I'm not gonna worry about that. But what was the question? I'm sorry.
Oh no, please introduce yourself. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself to the panel and also to the members of the Guam Chamber.
Okay, so my name is Don Antonio Ada Equilani. I'm I'm running it as a Republican, number 12 on the Republican side of the ballot, and running in the general election for the 36th Guam Legislature. So I'm running primarily because I think during this pandemic, a lot of people were having a difficult time getting in touch with their elected officials and the leaders in the legislature, and so I thought the need to participate in government, and so that's a big part of the reason that, and I was struggling to identify whether I'm somewhere in between. I'm kind of a moderate. I like a lot of Democrat issues, environmental issues, but I'm very pro-life. So I'm a Republican. Are there any questions?
Yes, we've got one question for you. It's a 1-minute answer response that we're hoping to get from you. And it has to do with education. And education continues to be a critical component of our government and a priority for our community. The new normal of education certainly has created many concerns. If elected to the 36th Guam Legislature, what are some of the areas you would like to address to positively support or benefit the education of our youth? Your answer, please.
Well, I'm definitely gonna have a bunch of go-to. I have so many relatives who are teachers, former teachers. Like my mother was retired DOE principal. So I have a lot of family who are familiar with the education system. I used to hang out, helping out rather in the classrooms. And I mean, I was always curious about whether they could save money regarding energy, electricity, maybe add solar panels to the roofs of the schools. But as far as education goes, and I would hear talk from teachers that whether they like the changing to was it the No Child Left Behind and the test style was focusing on STEM. There's a bunch of issues that are important to teachers, and I'm definitely going to immerse myself with as many teachers as I can find, both retired and still teaching, and find out what the issues are important to them, and bring those issues up. I'm not sure if I answered your question well enough.
Thank you, Don, for that answer. And we know we only gave you 60 seconds to come up with a rounded answer, but we appreciate your response. Thank you very much. Next, we'd like to introduce Dominic Hernandez. Dominic, if you're on the call, please unmute your mic and please introduce yourself to our chamber membership.
Today, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Today, good morning. Thank you to the Guam Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity and discussion. My name is Dominic J. Hernandez. I'm number 3 on the ballot, candidate for senator under the Republican Party from the village of Ukudu Dededo. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 2006 to 2010. I was a small business owner from 2013 to 2017. And currently employed under Men's Karaoke Bar as a bartender, but unfortunately was unemployed due to the current crisis and shutdowns. I'm a common citizen that understands the concerns and issues of the common person. I believe it is time for a change in difference for our island by bringing about the concept of a government for Guam, not a government of Guam. The crisis has shed light on many different issues and problems that's going to require a Senate of individuals who react accordingly to the situation, be proactive on the many issues that we need to resolve, but most importantly, prioritize the needs of the many. We have 36,000 citizens who are currently on PUA. Many of their voices have been ignored, payments delayed, and who are unfortunately running out of time for unemployment if the federal government does not approve a new bill for the unemployment program by the end of this year. We have businesses who are closing their doors permanently with no plans of possibly returning anytime soon. We have citizens who are on the edge of losing their homes or who have already lost their homes. That's why I believe it's important we have individuals who are ready, willing, and determined to do the right thing for the common good of all. And I will be that voice to ensure that many voices who have been ignored in many different ways will not be ignored anymore, speak about the issues that affect many of us, find ways to resolve them, and push to create this concept of a government for Guam and not a government of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. That was a very clear and concise response to, how to introduce yourself and give us your position on things in general. So our question that we posed to you today has to do with highways and the highway fund in particular. Good roads are vital for the economy. And unfortunately, despite island residents paying their share of taxes and fees that are legally allocated towards the highway fund, we continue to experience poor road conditions. What would you do to ensure that the highway funds are used solely for road repairs? Any ideas?
Thank you for that question. I agree with you. I'm one of those individuals that do complain from time to time about the roads, especially the potholes, because I do get tired of changing my tires every year. With that said, we need to be able to regulate where the highway funds are being spent and how it's being spent, as well as monitor the contractors we hire to do the job, making sure that they're not cutting corners and or they're using proper material so that the roads can actually sustain itself and last for many years versus having to fix it I believe maybe every couple of years we're fixing the roads, or potholes will pop up after a year. So we need to make sure that we're monitoring everything correctly in order to ensure that the roads will be done properly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dominic, for that answer. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind everybody that you're viewing the Guam Chamber of Commerce Senatorial Forum. We've invited all the senatorial candidates to join this forum to introduce themselves and give them their position on why they earned your vote in this upcoming election. And next, what we'd like to do is introduce our next candidate, and it's the Speaker of the 35th Guam Legislature. May I introduce Tina Munya Barnes. Speaker Barnes, would you please introduce yourself in your opening statement?
Anana Situs and Situs Masti Chamber for giving us the opportunity to be here this morning. I ran for office because growing up, my parents instilled with me the spirit of Ina Famalik. When your community is in need, you need to step up and serve. I've spent my career in both the public and private sectors. All my siblings and my kids now are small and big business owners. I left a six-figure salary to come back into public service because for me, there's no greater satisfaction than making our island a better place. My kids are grown, and now it's about making sure Guam is a better place for my grandchildren. Time and time again, I feel certain factions in our community, they seem to push an idea that there is a divide between the Guam Chamber and specifically the Democrats. Maybe I'm missing something here. I know I have personally answered your calls before 8 a.m., after 5, and on weekends. Just this week, I proposed an initiative seeking the support of this organization to bring in new revenues and create new jobs. When I was the oversight chairwoman on tourism, I fought for the visa waiver program. Many of you said we need to grow our tourism. Prior to COVID, we saw record-breaking arrival numbers as a result of our successful partnership. As the chairwoman of the Guam Buildup, you can ask the Admiral, we committed to one another that we treat each other with respect and that we continue to work together for the common good. It's a win-win for Guam and the United States. Out of $8 billion today in the military buildup, we get hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes for our people, and our people get higher paying jobs. 324 million as of today. As Speaker, I have heard many of your concerns with the permitting process. I've even hounded my own son that it took him 2 years to get permits for his business, and he told me, Mom, it's not me. I did some research, and at GPA alone, a $40,000 investment has led to over $230,000 in saving. It saved over 9,000 hours and 2,300 hours in overtime. More importantly, it increased the efficiency to 90% and it reduced hours. I know all of you guys want this. I introduced Bill 385 this term, and I hope to work closely with Reverend Tax and other choke point agencies. Now with COVID, I have been able to greet the support of bipartisan colleagues, and we have proposed to make
You've exceeded your 2 minutes. So we'd like to hear your response to the question that we're going to pose to you. We appreciate your statement. So here's what we need to find out your ideas. Due to the current economic crisis brought about by the pandemic, many places in the U.S., including Guam, have experienced huge employment losses. So Guam currently does not have unemployment insurance legislated. What is your position on unemployment insurance? And if elected, how would you vote if this proposal was brought before you?
Ernie, I want to share with you in the 27th Guam Legislature, I introduced universal health care and unemployment insurance, and the business community did not support me. They crucified me then. And as this pandemic has proven, we would not have waited 12 weeks to implement the PUA. So I want to share with you that I will support universal health care and unemployment insurance, and see if the U.S. Department of Labor can work closely with us and the United States to see how our people can get into these programs to make it better for our community. So yes, I am in support of seeing how we can make things better for our community with universal health care and even with unemployment. Just need to work with all the stakeholders to come together to the same table and bring the solutions for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Next, we'd like to introduce a former senator, and she's now a candidate for the 36th Guam Legislature. I'd like to introduce Joanne Brown. Senator Brown, can you please introduce yourself to the chamber?
Hi, are you able to hear me, Ernie?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
Thank you very
great.
much.
Wonderful. Thank you. I just want to thank your chamber staff and Christy Boletto for helping me get on this morning. I know it's been quite a challenge with some of these technical issues, but thank you very much for the opportunity with the chamber to be able to talk with you and introduce myself. As you mentioned, I am a former senator. My name is Joanne Brown. I'm number 2 on the Republican side of the ballot. One of the reasons that has motivated me after so many years of since I was last in the Guam Legislature, I'm just very concerned about the lack of accountability in government and responsiveness of government. And certainly I'm very concerned about the issues of corruption in the government of Guam that I see that affect our ability to address the needs of our people, all the way from building our schools, paving our roads, to addressing healthcare in our community. I'm also concerned about the lack of response to address the business community, because the business community generates the revenue that actually helps pay for government operations. And I see such a tremendous disconnect between the business sector that is going through tremendous challenges as a result of this pandemic, and so many of our people being unemployed. And I very much want to bridge that gap, because I don't think the government can operate in isolation of the private sector. I mean, we're all one unit that needs to move forward collectively. And so those are the things that have concerned me. And that's one of the main reasons after all these years that I'm throwing my hat back in the ring and running for the Guam Legislature.
Thank you very much, Senator Brown. The question I pose to you has to do with different options on how the government of Guam can operate efficiently with optimization. Some of these include outright privatization, outsourcing, or public-private partnerships. And even though these are vague terms to the general population, when referencing them, how would they be implemented in the government of Guam? If elected, would you support any of these options for government services or their associated autonomous agencies? And if so, which entity or entities would you pursue one of these 3 options? And which option would you pursue for that entity? It's a mouthful. I'll give you a second.
Yeah, it is. What I will say, Ernie, and you know, when it comes to public assets, I think that's something that definitely requires a lot of review and scrutiny. But, you know, I was involved in the legislature in the process of the privatization of the Guam Telephone Authority, and that was something we were able to implement and get through. And so certainly, while I can't give you a specific entity to say right now today, this is what I want to privatize, this is what I want a private-public partnership, I'm definitely open to those discussions in areas where it makes financial sense, where it makes operational sense to a government entity to provide a better service that the government is not able to provide. I definitely think we need to look at the technological advances that we have to try to make the government more efficient and more user-friendly, certainly to our business community and also to our residents, because it's very frustrating when you have to stand in a long line to pay the government because it's a government regulation that's imposed on us as citizenry, and yet they make it very difficult for us to operate and do what we need to do. So I'm very open to that discussion. But of course, anytime it comes to a public asset, that's something I want to have more transparency and openness so that we all know what's involved and what the benefits are, and maybe even in some cases what the disadvantages are. So I'm definitely open to that discussion should I be reelected back into the 36th Guam Legislature.
All right. Thank you very much for that answer, Senator Brown.
Thank you,
again,
Aaron.
we appreciate again, everybody who's still on the call, you're watching live on GoToWebinar, Guam Chamber of Commerce Senatorial Forum, and we appreciate everybody's patience on the call. We have a lot of candidates we want to hear from. And so those patiently waiting, I'd like to call on next Senator Mary Camacho Torres to introduce herself and give her 2-minute position statement.
Day, and good morning to the Guam Chamber of Commerce and to the people of Guam who are listening. My name is Mary Camacho Torres, and I'm a candidate for re-election on the Republican side of the ballot. I want to start by thanking everyone for allowing me to serve as long as I have. I'm very grateful for the trust that you've given me these past 6 years, and I've worked very hard to keep that trust every single day. I want to mention also that my service to the island began long before my role as a senator. And I bring a lot of experience working in the private sector and in the government. Past leadership positions include the Deputy General Manager of the Guam Visitors Bureau, the Executive Manager for the Guam International Airport, and the General Manager at the Port Authority of Guam. Prior to that, I managed a private law office for 15 years and served on numerous boards and commissions throughout Guam. On the fun side, I helped develop youth soccer on Guam, and I also have a lot of business interests, with my family as well. So I'm well aware and sensitive to the business climate and all things that affect it. I'm running because we need policies on to rebuild Guam's families, that remove barriers to opportunity, and that restore dignity to our island. That's why in my few terms serving in the legislature, I've worked across the aisles to expand Guam's family leave laws. It's why I fought for fair chance employment practices, and why I'm championing new licensing standards to improve Guam's access to health care. But there's more work to do, and this pandemic has shown that we are in dire need of diversifying our economy, of slowing the revolving door of crime, and of increasing our access to health care. But like many of you, I too have raised a family and worry every day about the choices that leaders make that directly impact the lives of our children, our grandchildren, our most vulnerable, and the business community that stands up our economy. We deserve good leadership, and I believe that I offer just that. Again, I'm number 5 on the Republican side of the ballot, and I respectfully ask for your continued trust so that I can be your voice in the legislature and do good for our people of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your opening statement, Senator Torres. And in your statement, you mentioned that your advocacy for healthcare. So our question to you this morning is, because of the current pandemic situation, healthcare and the ability to pay for it has widely been discussed. What is your position on mandating universal health care on Guam? And please elaborate, how would you approach this issue?
I believe that we have to be very cognizant of the fact that this government spends about $350 million on various programs that deliver health care, the MIT, Medicaid, And so we have to certainly look at what is the most economical way to expand healthcare to Guam. One of the things that I've advocated for greatly is the access to healthcare. And I believe that the first touchstone to healthcare is the access to nurses and to provide as many nurses as we can on Guam. Because regardless of whether you have enough hospital beds or facilities, if you don't have enough nurses to man them, you're not going to go very far. And so we have to, I've introduced, bills right now for the nurse licensure compact. I've expanded nurse practicing for advanced registered nurses. But I believe in terms of healthcare, because we spend so much, we must look at a way that is more economical and that can provide access to the community in a greater degree. So certainly I'm open to any discussion that will keep the cost down and provide for greater access.
Thank you very much, Senator, for that answer. Next, I'd like to introduce the next senatorial candidate. He's a former senator. Please, everybody, I'd like to introduce Vincent Tony Atta.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ernie. To the chamber, I'd like to for this opportunity and to their members for giving us this time to introduce ourselves. My name is Vicente Tony Atta. I'm from the village of Sinahanya. My wife, Annette, and I, we have 4 beautiful children, Lonnie, Boo, Ali, and Amaimai. And I'm a veteran of the United States Army. I served our country, and after serving our country, I returned home to continue to work in the family business. This year, we celebrated our 48th year in business, and we look forward to another 48. After 16 years from being home, I ran for public office to serve our island. Serving in the 30th to the 33rd Guam Legislature, I introduced legislation on government transparency, consumer protection, education, and public safety. I would like to continue to serve our island again in the 36th Guam Legislature. I will work to help build a resilient economy, keep our families and businesses safe, and work to have a realistic and responsible budget. I ask you to please visit my website at tonyattaforsenator.com to know more about me, my legislative work, and my community involvement. I'm number 7 on the Republican side of the ballot, and I humbly ask for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, for your service and also for your introduction. What we'd like to do is to propose a question to you, and it starts with that Guam's backyard happens to be in the Asia region, which many entities, both national and international, they do business here or within this region. What is your position on creating incentive programs to attract such businesses to hub themselves here on Guam? Please elaborate on the reasons why you would either support or not support this notion.
I support this notion to attract more businesses here. I think that, we're that gateway to Asia, and at the same token, Guam is where America's day begins. We're governed by U.S. laws and regulations, the U.S. banking and financing system of operations. We need to ensure that we can get our Guam Economic Development Authority to work to bring in some QC programs or tax incentives to attract more businesses here to Guam. We can do it. We have the infrastructure here to do it. We have the facilities here to do it. We just need the businesses to open their minds and say, let's have Guam be a hub to where we can conduct business both internationally and nationally and still be on American soil here in Asia. Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you very much for that, Tony. Next, I'd like to introduce incumbent Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano to give us 2 minutes of her position, followed by a question which we'll pose after she completes. Senator Taitano.
Buenas and Hafa. COVID-19 has made it absolutely clear that our economy must be the primary focus for all of us. It fuels all other priorities. I have been strong in oversight. I issued the only subpoena in years to get to the issue. I wrote laws to save lives livelihoods, and increase our quality of life. I expanded early voting. I strengthened protections of our Guam brand and support for our local entrepreneurs. I have been scouring every opportunity, big and small, that I can for rebuilding and re-envisioning our economy. I am researching a couple of types of agricultural industries that have done well elsewhere in similar communities. I worked with GITA to develop Bill 417 to create an inter-regional commerce commission to explore regional industry possibilities and identify both impediments and ways to move forward. And I am determined to get that onto our session floor this November to get that ball rolling. I have spent months having live streamed conversations with leaders, researchers, and business owners throughout our region to look at what possibilities we can be instituting here. I have fought for workforce training and boot camps, and I will continue to do so. I want to continue working with GITA to help get at the training programs that we need to take care of our healthcare professional gaps, from caregivers to nurses to lab technicians. And I am looking into Hong Kong and China to find out what industries they have there that might be a good fit here. And I'm also looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at compact impact reimbursement. 90% of those costs are on our tax-paying shoulder, and we are making progress. We're working with the Government Accountability Office and trying to find out how we can get more relief to take that burden off our shoulders. And I have helped fight for equal consideration in federal assistance programs. We're left out a lot of times, but we need that federal money here for our people. We deserve it. So I ask that you allow me to take all the lessons I've learned, and I've learned a lot this term, to apply them to the next term. My name is Kelly Marsh Taitano. I am number 15 on the Democratic side of the ballot.
Thank you, Senator Taitano. You went a little bit over your allotted time, but you were so passionate in your response. So anyway, our question to you regards consumer confidence. And it's an economic indicator that measures the degree of optimism that consumers feel about the overall state of the economy and how it applies to their personal financial situation. There's a sense there's a lack of consumer confidence in public sentiment, especially when related to the government of Guam's ability to support economic activities designed to foster growth. If elected to the 36th Guam Legislature, what steps would you take to improve consumer confidence in the government of Guam?
You know, I've always believed that the best approach to maintaining or improving public confidence in institutions is to provide for transparency, accountability, and a constructive data-based approach to solving these problems. And as I mentioned, you know, I've been real strong in oversight. Calling on FOIAs when they need to be, having oversight hearings, and even getting to the point of a subpoena so that we're ensuring that transparency to, again, get back to that feeling of confidence. But I've also talked about growing and diversifying the economy, and I'm coming up with real steps to getting there. That Inter-Regional Commerce Commission, and looking to develop these new regional opportunities, looking at our opportunity zones and so forth. And so with this, I think we just have to have a multiple approach. We have to tackle it at these different avenues to get that confidence back. I mentioned that I'm open to...
Thank you, Senator Taitano. Each your answer. Next, we'd like to introduce next candidate, senatorial candidate. His name is Christopher Carrillo. Christopher, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the Chamber and all of you for attending and allowing us to have a platform to talk about our ideas. My name is Chris Carrillo. I'm from Manila. I'm married to Ina Carrillo. Together we own several businesses, and I've been a member of the I've worked in the legislature before with Senator B.J. Cruz, and currently I work with Senator Pito Terlahi. In between that, I have some private sector experience. where I set up the finance department for Guam Auto Spot, and I also set up over 100 solar systems for Micronesia Renewable Energy while I manage the sales department. I have a real plan to expand healthcare to the private sector. I believe that businesses, large and small, follow the example that was set by the Chamber, the Women's Chamber, and the Guam Chamber of the Guam Contractors Association, where they allowed their members to procure health insurance collectively so that they could reduce premiums and increase benefits. I also believe that we need to invest in technology for the government to make sure that the government is open 24 hours a day and working for all of you businesses and our taxpayers to make sure that we can provide the services that we are required to provide. And last but not least, my greatest strength is I'm a consensus builder. I'm someone that believes in working together across the aisle and with our colleagues to make sure that the best ideas get out, regardless if it's my idea or someone else's idea. As long as it's going to serve the needs of our community, those ideas need to come out, and we need to get those enacted into law so that we can make sure that the government is working for the people and not for special interests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate your opening remarks. My question to you has to do with property tax. In early 2019, the Guam Legislature voted on a measure to increase by doubling the tax on improvements for properties valued at $1 million or more. This has had a tremendous impact on families and small businesses who rent units, residential and commercial units. If elected to the 36th Guam Legislature, would you consider introducing a measure to either amend or repeal this law? What are your thoughts? Please elaborate.
Well, first of all, that tax went on improvements to properties of over $1 million. So that's not a tax in perpetuity. That's a one-time tax you pay on the year that you improve your property. Second of all, those taxes go to fund the TEFF, or the Territorial Educational Facilities Fund, which makes sure that our schools have enough funding. So I don't believe that we need to step that back. I'm a proponent. If you have a little more money, then we need to do our part and pay a little higher taxes so that we can provide proper education for our students, provide proper levels of funding for the public safety departments, and make sure that we have enough money for public health. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christopher, for your position on that question. Next, I want to introduce an incumbent senator, Senator Therese Talahi. Senator Talahi.
Day to the chamber members and to the people of Guam. I'm Therese Talahi. I'm serving in my second term as your senator, and I sincerely thank you for flexing your power and vote this. I'm a lawyer by profession for 30 years, assisting families, veterans, senior citizens, and small businesses seek justice in their time of need and to navigate government bureaucracy. I also served for 7 years as an assistant professor of criminal justice and public administration at the University of Guam. And I've worked to expand housing and sustainable agriculture as a lawyer in the case to implement the Chamorro Land Trust, in the case to ensure earned income tax credits for working families for patients denied insurance coverage. And being the chair for Committee on Health, Tourism, Historic Preservation, Land and Justice has been extremely challenging during the public health emergency and during the halt to our tourism industry. This has affected each of our families and exacerbated the fragile state of healthcare and the economy. We work tirelessly with resources supporting our health infrastructure, directing the legislature's oversight power to hold critical agencies accountable and focused on getting us through this pandemic, including the Division of Environmental Health, so our businesses and employees can return to and prompt. I've sought justice for Guam and the protection of her people and her natural resources from contamination, loss of access, and destruction of cultural sites, and for repair of the hospital, expanded the shelters for children, and for a halt on the release of sex offenders, and for the truth from every branch of government. I've taken politically challenging positions and asked difficult questions of officials during hearings, most especially when it comes to government finances and tax refunds. And while many will say that transparency and accountability are important to them, I clearly demonstrated this. And I serve you as an experienced small business person, a parent, and a proud product of Guam, who is not beholden to any special interest or in need of a new career. I've dedicated this time to being a public servant for the people of Guam, to trying to ensure that all the people of Guam can thrive, that Guam excels locally, nationally, and internationally.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. The question that we want to hear about regarding this topic is workforce development. So how do you propose to resolve or improve workforce development and or vocational training so that we are not heavily reliant on foreign labor and we provide more opportunities for our local residents to attain jobs?
Thank you for that question. That's an excellent question. First, in every year that I've been a senator, we have increased the support for the apprenticeship programs that are going through Department of Labor and the Guam Community College. And we continue to do that. And especially this year, we put in an extra $1 million. And I think this is really the key, that we continue to fund programs where we can retrain our workers so that they can fill the great needs that we currently have, for example, in healthcare. And I'm hoping that we will expand there's many programs available currently under these programs, but I'm hoping we're going to refocus on those that are in extreme need today, including healthcare, of course, construction, and many other fields. But I think putting our money there is one good start. And of course, we've expanded these programs through the University of Guam as well. And so continuing to support our institutions that are leading the way in these efforts, the businesses that hire these apprentices and train them, and just putting the focus on inviting those who have in need of jobs or have lost it.
Thank you, Senator. We appreciate your response. Sorry to cut you off.
No problem.
Anyway, thank you very much. Next, I'd like to introduce next senatorial candidate. His name is John Ananich Jr. John?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, yes, no, it's not John Ananich Jr., it's John Paris Ogden Ananich II. But, Junior is okay. Anyway, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Guam Chamber for putting this together. I'd like to thank you, Ernie, for moderating this. You kept it going very smoothly. And the opportunity to sit down with all these candidates. I think this is the first time ever in any forum that we've had such a huge participation. So thank you for the opportunity. My name is John Paris Ogden Ananich. I'm a former combat veteran. I'm a veteran of the Guam Police Department. And currently I'm a small business owner, like a lot of others that are probably just trying to hold on to that very thin thread of survival here. This pandemic has been very hard. I'm fortunate to be married to the beautiful Hope Moore Ananich, who's been an adjunct professor at the awesome University of Guam for over 10 years. Together we are, parents to 5 very, very beautiful children. So there's no surprise that my platform is circled around public safety, because that's what I know. But public safety extends also in the business community, and we've seen it also here in right here in Tumon. Where and I say that because I'm coming to you from quarantine, but here in Tumon, where our tourists have fell victim to criminal activity. So I believe that we need to buckle down on that, and I think that if we make the criminal activity a lot less, then we'll see also the business community thrive. Once again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm John Paris Ogden Ananich, number 12 on the Democratic side of the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for your service and for your opening statement. The question we want to pose to you today is regarding the military buildup. So do you support the military buildup? And if so, what actions would you proffer just further for further military activity on Guam? If not, what do you believe will sustain private sector jobs, given that the tourism industry is not expected to recover to its former self for over 2 years? Your thoughts on this, please, John?
Well, definitely as a former combat veteran, I do support the military buildup. We only have two industries. That's hospitality and the defense spending. And now more than ever, our island needs the financial boost that this buildup will bring. In the last few months, our islands received over $1 billion in federal assistance, and it's much needed financial infusion. So it wouldn't make any sense for us to now say that we don't need our the federal money.
Whoops. Sorry, John, your audio got cut off. Can you hear us? John, are you there? Catherine, should we go on to the next candidate, and then when John's back online, we can allow him to finish his question?
Hi, Ernie. Yes, we should do that. I know that he's in quarantine, and he did mention that he was having some difficulty with the, let's go see. Mr. Ananich, are you back online?
Can you hear me? Hello?
There you go.
Yes, we can.
I'm so sorry, but I know I was probably where I was talking about, to proffer, to further activity, but the military personnel, they'll definitely shop on Guam, they'll shop off base at our local stores, restaurants, theaters, hotels. Every retail outlet we have or any type of small business will definitely profit from them. So what I think we need to do right now is we need to make them feel welcome. And let's welcome them and show them the hospitality, the true Guam hospitality, and at the same time focus on opening up our small business community as well. It's very crucial that we figure out now how to coexist and get this economy back on its feet, and it starts with the small business community. I'm sorry I got a phone call in the middle of my response, and I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, John. Appreciate your reply. Next, we'd like to hear from incumbent Senator Telo Taigui. Telo, thank you for your patience on being online. Please give us your 2-minute opening statement.
Half a day, Ernie. I kind of feel like I'm holding up the lunch line, being close to the last year. So I'm not going to be too long-winded, but half a day to the Guam Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for this opportunity. And to those viewing on this webinar, I'm Telo Taigui. I'm originally from the beautiful village of Inarahan, and I'm a Southern girl at heart. And now I'm currently living in the beautiful village of Tumuning. I was a former director of the Women's Bureau, Deputy General Manager of the Guam Visitors Bureau. I was a small business owner and currently a senator in the 35th Guam Legislature. And just for fun, I enjoy listening to jazz with my dad. I'm running for re-election in the 36th Guam Legislature, not only because I would like to continue the work I've started, but I think people of Guam want someone who's not afraid to ask the hard questions, to call out those who have lost the people's trust for demand for transparency and accountability. I believe I've proven to be that person and someone that the people of Guam can count on. I'm number 11 on the Republican side, and I humbly ask for your support to allow me to continue the work I've started. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. The question that we posed for you, notwithstanding your comment about holding up the lunch line, but this happens to fall in maybe the same type of arena, but nationally, this is regarding a tip credit. So nationally, many states have incorporated a tip credit for their food and beverage industry, some as low as $5 an hour. While there are many positives as well as challenges to this issue, if proposed for Guam, what would your position be on the issue of tip credit. Your
Okay, thank you.
ideas and
Thank you, Ernie. Thank you for that question. You know, to tell you the truth, I don't know a whole lot about tip credit and adding. I do know that an example of it is with employee salaries about $9, but is given an average of $2 per hour in tip credits. Therefore, employees' hourly would be about $11. But, you know, I'm not settled on this matter as as I would like to hear from employees and employers on this matter. The issue of overtime is also an issue on Fair Labor Acts that need to be addressed. And I want to ensure that at the end of the day, employees are paid what they're rightfully due, and that tips meant for employees go to them. And that there's no issue with tips being spread amongst employees if consumers did not intend for such. But like I mentioned, it's something that I haven't really dabbled in, but definitely want to look into it. And I think that we have to be fair with it as well on the Fair Standard Acts. Thank you.
thank you very much, Toto, for that answer. It's open and frank. We appreciate that in your response. Now, everybody, I'd like to introduce the next senatorial candidate who has the patience of King Solomon for being the last one to be asked to give his 2-minute opening statement. Please welcome Christopher Duenas. Chris, did you unmute your mic?
Hello, Ernie, can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you.
Thank you, Ernie. I'm sorry, I guess I had one more step to make, but thank you for this opportunity. I know you saved the best for last, and so I'll continue now. You know, Ernie, and the Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank you for this opportunity to express my views and to speak to you today. You know, in many of you in the business community, I was one of you for 16 years, primarily in the tourism industry. I have a captain's license. I own my own charter fishing industry boat and worked in the fishing industry. And I also am a licensed submarine pilot. And that's what I did, helping millions of guests enjoy their time on Guam when I was in the private sector. I then have extensive public sector experience, 16 years, which matches basically my private sector experience. And that is as Director, Department of Youth Affairs. I was also Director of Land Management. I was a senator in the 31st and 32nd Guam Legislature. And I also was the president of the Guam Housing Corporation. I believe that balance of private sector and public sector experience has prepared me once again to serve in the 36th Guam Legislature. You know, my approach is straightforward here. My campaign slogan is focused, balanced, and ready. I think what I've seen over the last couple of years, most especially, is a lack of focus on the priorities and what the people of Guam expect from the legislature. The legislature really has a very, few roles that it should play when trying to prepare our community and serve our community. That's education, healthcare, and public safety. When it comes to balance, the private sector, as far as I'm concerned, hasn't had a seat at the table in the last, at least particularly in the last 10 months during this pandemic. I've actually proposed a bill that would ask and have the governor get approval to expand her emergency powers, the governor's emergency powers, beyond 30 days, having to come to the legislature and having the private sector and others have a seat at the table to discuss the extension of such emergencies. So that prepares me to be ready to serve, and I'd love to be a senator and serve the people of Guam once again in the 36th Guam Legislature. Thanks, Ernie.
Thank you very much, Christopher, former senator. So now our question for you today is going to be, as a senator, what type of relationship would you want to keep with the federal government? what are the 3 pressing issues on a federal level which you believe our local government needs to advocate more effectively with the nation's capital? Your ideas?
Thank you, Ernie. That's an excellent question. You know, as the Director of Youth Affairs, particularly, I had high-level talks with members of the Federal Education Department. And one thing they've always said to me was, you know, Chris, the federal government will not write a blank check to the people of Guam. And so coming up with programs and coming up with offset opportunities is something that I think we need to explore. If you look at the Department of Education in particular, you know, the federal government, when the systems were integrated between the Dodea schools and Department of Education, they paid almost $7,000 a year for their children to attend our schools. So they've proven that they are willing to invest in education, public safety, our hospital. And I think we need to reapproach Compact Impact and go back to the federal government and say, we're not asking for a blank check, but here are our programs which we would like to have you help us fund, because under Compact Impact, taking care of education, public safety, and healthcare, that floats all boats. And they will not write a blank check to the government of Guam, but I'm sure, Ernie, they will fund programs that are proven to succeed and move our island forward.
Thank you very much for that answer. It was very to the point, and appreciate you for waiting so long in order to present yourself and answer our questions. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the number of candidates we wish to hear from. We, once again, as the Guam Chamber of Commerce and the Senatorial Forum, we'd like to thank all the senatorial candidates for joining us today. We appreciate your candidacy. We appreciate your willing to serve the public and taking this opportunity to let us know your views and also to respond to the many questions that we asked of you all today. We are hopeful that this will give clarity to those voters who have yet to cast their ballots on who will best fill the 15 seats open for next year's 36 Guam Legislature. We'd also like to thank all the board candidates for the upcoming 2021 Board of Directors of the Guam Chamber of Commerce. And lastly, for all constituents of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, we appreciate your being with us. We went over our allotted time, but we felt that it might be very worthwhile for everybody to hear our candidates' points of view and the responses to the many questions that our Guam business community have on their collective minds. So thank you once again, everyone. My name is Ernie Galito. I'm a director of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate the Guam Chamber of Commerce staff and management for putting this together. Notwithstanding all the technical issues, this is a new world that we live, but I think a year from now, everybody will be adept at Zoom, GoToMeeting, Teams, Blue Jeans, Skype, whatever platform will be ready to communicate and connect electronically. Thank you once again, and it's time for lunch. Good night, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adios. Adios.
Hi, Kat. No, she's still on. Kat?
Yeah, that's true. Get back to
We're still recording, guys.
Okay.
Are we turning off now?
Yes, I'm going to turn it off now.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And